Have you ever thought a chalk drawing on a sidewalk could change an entire art empire? What makes a cold-hearted female director stop in front of a street artist? Can a free glance be enough to melt a heart frozen for a year? And if you were Sophie Langley, what would you do when your traumatic past unexpectedly resurfaces, all because of a chance moment? Let's step into the brilliant Philadelphia on Independence Day, where an inspiring story is about to unfold, and where colored chalk strokes can create the greatest magic. Early on the morning of July 4th in Old City, Philadelphia, the scene is lively as a living painting. The cobblestone streets are bustling with American flags fluttering, children holding red, white, blue balloons, and the scent of hoagies from Wawa stalls wafting in the air. The Independence Day festival is in full swing. Live music from street bands, laughter from the fair near the Liberty Bell, and bright sunshine signaling a spectacular fireworks show by the Delaware River. Among the crowd, a corner of the sidewalk suddenly transforms into an art stage. Ethan Brooks, 28, kneels on the ground, swiftly drawing with chalk. The picture comes to life. The Statue of Liberty under the fireworks, as a greeting for Independence Day. Ethan, with tousled brown hair, a flannel shirt with a few buttons undone, and a free-spirited smile, draws the gaze of some tourists. But his deep blue eyes, mysterious and deep, seem to tell a story unknown to anyone. "That's a beautiful drawing, mister," a little girl standing nearby exclaims, holding a pink piece of chalk. Tina, Ethan's 16-year-old sister, in a t-shirt printed with the American flag, helps him color. "Buy a piece, just $10, the girl calls out, winking at passers-by. Ethan smiles, ruffling his sister's hair. "Tina, don't rush the customers. Let them enjoy it first," he says, his voice warm and deep. But inside, Ethan worries. $10 for a picture isn't enough to pay rent, let alone support Tina's college design studies. He draws out of passion, but also for the dream of opening an art gallery. A distant dream from the slums where he grew up. Not far away, Sophie Langley steps out of a black SUV. The driver bows his head before driving off. At 32, Sophie is the epitome of success. Her golden hair tied high, a navy blue suit hugging her frame, and piercing brown eyes that seem to read through every artwork. As the director of the Philadelphia Art Museum, Sophie had taken the museum to an international level. But a year ago, a scandal nearly destroyed her. Her ex-boyfriend, James Carter, spread rumors she stole exhibition ideas, causing her to lose the trust of sponsors. Recently, James reignited the drama with a post on X, implying she continues to deceive. The museum board, worried about public opinion, urged her to improve her public image, requiring her to appear at the Independence Day gala tonight with a boyfriend to appease sponsors and keep her director position. Sophie, her heart frozen after James's betrayal, just wants to get through the gala without opening up. Today, Sophie walks through Old City to check the gala banner near the Liberty Bell, but a headache from the morning meeting makes her want to stop. The festival music, the scent of coffee from a local cafe, and the glittering American flags make her relax a bit, but she quickly brushes off the feeling. Emotions only make us weak, she reminds herself, gripping her Wawa coffee cup tightly. She walks briskly, not noticing Ethan and his chalk drawing underfoot. "Oh no!" Sophie exclaims as her coffee cup slips from her hand, spilling straight onto Ethan's drawing, smearing the Statue of Liberty with stains. She stands stunned, watching Ethan kneel there, his blue eyes briefly surprised, then shifting to annoyance. "Sorry, I didn't mean to," Sophie says, her voice cold but flustered. She pulls out her wallet, offering some money. "I'll compensate." Ethan stands, tall, dusting chalk off his hands. "Compensate with money? You think a few dollars can erase 4 hours of my work?" he asks, his tone jesting but his eyes sharp. Tina, standing next to him, giggles, making Sophie's cheeks redden. "Then what do you want?" Sophie asks, folding her arms, director aura pouring out. Ethan laughs, his free-spirited smile unsettling Sophie a bit. "Be my model. I'll draw another picture, and you stand as the Statue of Liberty. Fair, right?" He winks, making nearby tourists laugh aloud. Sophie furrows her brows, ready to refuse, but Ethan's gaze, challenging yet sincere, makes her pause. She looks at the smudged drawing, then recalls tonight's gala. An idea flashes, bolder than any exhibitions she's organized. "All right," Sophie says, her voice calm. "But I have a bigger proposal. Be my boyfriend tonight at the museum gala. I'll pay $2,000. Looking straight into Ethan's eyes, her gaze shows no surrender. "I need someone to convince the board and the sponsors that I'm trustworthy. After the gala, you're free." Ethan is stunned, mouth agape as if July 4th fireworks just exploded before him. $2,000? Are you serious?" he asks, scratching his head. Tina jumps in, eyes shining. "Brother Ethan, agree to it. $2,000 is enough to pay rent for a whole year." Ethan glances at his sister, then looks at Sophie, a woman in an expensive suit but with eyes full of hurt. He feels curious, sensing she's hiding a secret bigger than the smudged drawing beneath her feet. $2,500, Ethan says, smirking, his tone joking but his eyes serious. "And you have to be my model right now, no arguing." Sophie raises an eyebrow, the corner of her mouth curving into a rare smile. "Deal," she replies, stepping onto the sidewalk, posing like the Statue of Liberty. Ethan starts drawing, guiding her to hold her hand high, making her feel awkward as tourists take photos. "Don't be tense, director," Ethan teases, making Sophie glare at him, though she smiles slightly when he intentionally draws her nose, crooked like Picasso. Tina, standing nearby, whispers to a tourist, "My brother might be in love with her already." When the drawing is complete, the crowd applauds. Ethan stands up, handing Sophie a piece of chalk. "Sign it, partner," he says, eyes sparkling. Sophie signs, feeling a strange sensation, as if this chalk stroke just began something bigger. She looks at Ethan, sensing he's not just a street artist, but someone who could potentially turn tonight's gala, and her heart, upside down. But as she walks away, her phone vibrates. A message from Maya, her assistant, appears. "James just posted on X, hinting at you stealing new ideas. He'll be at the gala tonight. Be careful, Sophie." Her heart chills. Will Ethan help her get through the gala and defeat James? Or will he pull her into a bigger storm? Stay tuned for this touching story. Have you ever done anything to save your reputation or dreams? Share in the comments and hit the subscribe button on True Millionaire Moments channel, not to miss Sophie and Ethan's emotional journey. Each viewer like you is a light igniting stories that touch the heart. Dusk falls in Philadelphia, with bright golden sunlight spilling over Rittenhouse Square, where red brick buildings glimmer amidst the Independence Day festivity. Test fireworks echo from the Delaware River, mingling with the coffee aroma from the nearby La Colombe Cafe. In Sophie Langley's luxury apartment on the top floor of a building overlooking the park, the atmosphere is more chaotic than the old city fair. Ethan Brooks, a street artist who just signed a $2,500 fake boyfriend contract, stands in the living room, holding a box of colored chalks, his blue eyes sparkling as if he just discovered a new canvas. On the walnut wood floor, a pink chalk accidentally draws a distorted heart. Sophie, in a navy blue business suit, folds her arms and glares at Ethan with dagger-sharp eyes. "Are you planning to turn my home into the old city sidewalk?" she asks, her voice cold but her lips twitching as if trying hard not to laugh. After their surprising morning encounter, Sophie had brought Ethan home to prepare for tonight's museum gala, where she must convince the council and sponsors of her reliability and erase the rumors of idea theft from her ex-boyfriend, James Carter. Yet Ethan, with his free and mischievous style, is turning her apartment, where everything from antique paintings to crystal glasses is perfectly arranged, into an unintended piece of art. Ethan smirks, dusting chalks off his hands. "Relax, director. A little color won't ruin your place. This apartment looks like a literal museum." He winks, making Sophie sigh, but her eyes soften slightly. Sophie's apartment is a masterpiece. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls, white leather sofas, and meticulously hung abstract paintings. On the dining table, a small statue from an ancient Egyptian exhibition sits next to an open laptop, displaying an email from the museum council. "Sophie, tonight's gala is your last chance to save your reputation. Don't let James ruin you." Sophie clenched her fists, recalling James's new post on X, implying she continued scamming. Last year's scandal, when James accused her of stealing exhibition ideas, still haunts her. She had rebuilt her reputation with international exhibitions, but James's post rekindled doubts, shaking the sponsors. The museum council pressured her to appear with a boyfriend at the gala, to project a professional, trustworthy image as an emergency PR move. Sophie glanced at Ethan, who was toying with a green chalk, and wondered, would this guy help her navigate the gala, or just make things worse? "All right, artist," Sophie said, stepping up, snatching the chalk. "We need to practice. The gala starts in 3 hours, and you have to convince everyone we're a couple." She hesitated, averting her eyes. Ethan burst out laughing, making Sophie blush. "A couple? Easy. Just look at me like I'm your favorite painting. I'll handle the rest." He moved closer, pretending to hold her hand but accidentally dropping the chalk box, scattering blue all over the white carpet. "Oh no!" Ethan exclaimed, kneeling to clean up, but only spreading the color wider. Sophie stood aghast, then suddenly laughed, her rare smile lighting up her face like the Independence Day fireworks. "You are a disaster," Sophie said, kneeling to help Ethan, their hands brushing briefly. She paused, feeling something unfamiliar creeping in. Ethan looked at her, his blue eyes twinkling. "Disasters are alluring, aren't they?" he teased, making Sophie glare at him, but the corners of her mouth quirked upward. They cleaned the floor together, the tension easing, as if the blue chalk had drawn an invisible bond between them. The doorbell rang, breaking the moment. Maya, Sophie's assistant and best friend, entered, her curly hair tied up, eyes shining bright. "Sophie, I brought the suit for your boyfriend here." Maya cheered, holding up a Nordstrom garment bag. She glanced at Ethan, then whispered to Sophie, "Funny, handsome, and destructive? You picked the right guy." Sophie shot Maya a look, her face reddening. "Shut up, Maya. This is just a contract." Maya winked. "Contract or not, I bet tonight's gala will be explosive." Ethan took the suit, shaking his head. "A suit? I'll look like an insurance salesman," he complained, but still went to change. When he emerged in a fitted black suit, hair neatly combed, Sophie fell silent. He was no longer the scruffy street artist, but a sophisticated man, his blue eyes still free yet captivating. "So, director, enough to fool the council?" Ethan asked, doing a spin, prompting Maya to applaud. Sophie coughed, averting her eyes. "Good enough," she said, but her heart sped up faster than usual. They began rehearsing, and this is when things got interesting. Sophie instructed Ethan on how to greet the sponsors, how to call her darling without overdoing it. Ethan, true to his artist nature, turned everything into a comedic play. When Sophie told him to hold her hand, Ethan pretended to kneel, stretching out his hand as if proposing, shouting, "Sophie Langley, you're the most beautiful painting in my life." Sophie froze. Maya laughed hysterically, and Ethan winked. "See, I'm a top actor," he said, making Sophie shake her head, but she couldn't suppress a smile. However, Sophie wanted to rehearse more seriously. She asked Ethan to play out a realistic scenario, to pretend to introduce her to a major sponsor, Mr. Franklin, who doubted her due to James's rumors. Ethan nodded, standing tall, changing his tone to serious. "Mr. Franklin, this is Sophie Langley, the most wonderful woman I've met. She not only leads the museum but also inspires me." He held Sophie's hand, his blue eyes looking at her so sincerely she forgot it was a rehearsal. Maya, standing beside, whispered, "He's not acting, Sophie." Sophie blushed, pulling her hand back. "Good, but don't call me wonderful. That sounds cliché," she said, her voice trembling. Ethan wasn't giving up. "All right, let's try a tougher scenario," he said, his eyes lighting up. "Suppose Mr. Franklin asks how we met. What should I say?" Sophie furrowed her brows, pondering. "Say, we met at an exhibition. You were drawn by my knowledge." Ethan laughed heartily. "Romantic, isn't it? No, I'll tell the truth. You spilled coffee on my painting, then paid me $2,500 to be your boyfriend." Sophie was stunned, throwing a chalk at him. Ethan dodged, but the chalk hit the Egyptian statue on the table, making it wobble. All three rushed to save it, and Maya caught it safely in her hands. Ethan sighed in relief, but Sophie glared at him. "Are you planning to ruin my exhibition before the gala even starts?" she asked, but her voice was full of laughter. Ethan raised his hands in surrender. "My bad, but admit it. You find me funny." Sophie shook her head, but her eyes sparkled as if enjoying the chaos. To increase the challenge, Sophie requested one last scenario. Pretend to dance at the gala, as the sponsors usually open the dance floor after dinner. She played some music from her phone, a gentle waltz, and took Ethan to the center. "Keep some distance," she instructed, her tone serious. But Ethan, with a free-spirited smile, pulled her closer. "I don't know waltz, but I know street dance," he said, unexpectedly spinning her around, causing Sophie to lose balance and fall into his chest. She was stunned, feeling Ethan's warmth, her heart racing. Ethan looked down, his blue eyes twinkling. "Not bad, director. You can dance." Sophie pushed him away, her face burning. "Focus, artist," she said, but her voice quivered. Maya, standing beside, clapped. "These two will set the gala on fire," she cheered, making Sophie even more flustered. Amidst the practice, Sophie's phone buzzed. A message from the museum council. "James just emailed the sponsors, claiming you faked the new exhibition profile. Tonight, you must prove your integrity." Sophie's face turned pale, her hands trembling. Ethan, standing nearby, noticed the tension. "Hey, director, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice low. Sophie shook her head, her voice cold. "None of your concern. Just act well tonight, all right?" Ethan frowned but nodded, although curious about her secret. Maya pulled Sophie aside, whispering, "James is playing dirty, Sophie. He knows you hired Ethan and plans to expose it at the gala. Do you have a plan?" Sophie clenched her fists, her eyes determined. "I'll confront him myself. Ethan just needs to complete the contract." But as she turned back, seeing Ethan doodling a small chalk heart on a scrap paper, his eyes seemed to convey something unspoken. She felt her heart race, not due to James, but because of the man in front of her. Is Ethan merely a contract, or will he draw something more significant in her life? Stay tuned for the next developments. Have you ever had to play a role that was not genuine to overcome a challenge? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to True Millionaire Moments to follow the emotional journey of Sophie and Ethan. Every moment you share is a flame lighting stories that touch the heart. The Philadelphia night is resplendent with National Day fireworks, with red, white, blue streaks exploding in the sky, reflecting down onto the Delaware River. The Art Museum stands majestically on Benjamin Franklin Parkway, shimmering like a palace, with its white stone columns and dazzling crystal chandeliers. Tonight's gala, the biggest event of the summer, draws the elite from New York to Washington, D.C. The gentle jazz music mingles with laughter and the clinking of wine glasses. Sophie Langley, in a fitted deep blue evening gown, steps into the main hall, her sharp brown eyes scanning the crowd. Beside her, Ethan Brooks, in a Nordstrom black suit, looks dashing, but his blue eyes retain the free-spirited look of a street artist. Tonight, they must convince the museum board and sponsors that Sophie is trustworthy, dispelling rumors of idea theft from James Carter. But as fireworks explode, another storm looms in the hall. This afternoon at the Rittenhouse Square apartment, Sophie and Ethan practiced becoming the perfect pair. Humorous moments, chalk dust scattering on the carpet, Ethan's mock proposal, a street dance spin making Sophie fall onto his chest, made her laugh more than she had all year. But a message from the board warning that James had sent an email accusing her of faking exhibition records left her tense. James, her ex-lover, not only stirs up last year's scandal but also knows she hired Ethan for $2,500. Sophie clenches Ethan's hand as they enter the gala, feeling his warmth, but her mind is chaotic. She glances at him, remembers the chalk heart he drew, and wonders, can Ethan help her through this? Or will James ruin it all? The gala hall is luxurious, with abstract paintings on the walls and tables draped in white silk cloths. The scent of orchids mixes with Dior perfumes worn by the ladies. Mr. Franklin, a major sponsor, approaches, his sharp eyes behind glasses. Sophie, the gala is impressive, he says. But James's post on X, how do you explain it? Sophie smiles, voice calm. Just rumors, Mr. Franklin. Tonight I'll prove the truth. She signals to Ethan. He takes her hand, his deep voice resonating. Sir, Sophie is the most dedicated person I know. She lives for art. Mr. Franklin nods, but his eyes are assessing. Sophie exhales, but her heart races when she sees James Carter in the crowd. James, in a gray tuxedo, with a smug smile, approaches, his cold brown eyes locking onto Sophie. At 35, he is charming but ruthless. Sophie Langley, still pretending to be perfect? He says smoothly. And this is the boyfriend? A street artist, really? He scoffs, making the guests murmur. Sophie squeezes Ethan's hand, her gaze steady. James, this gala is about art, not your dirty games. James steps closer, his voice low. Art? Or a $2,500 contract? I've got proof, Sophie. He raises his phone, showing the contract she gave Ethan. Sophie turns pale. The crowd murmurs. Ethan frowns, his blue eyes briefly doubtful. Is it true? He asks quietly. Sophie nods, her voice trembling. I hired you but didn't deceive anyone. I just needed a chance. James laughs loudly. A chance? You're using him to fool the board. Wake up, Brooks. Mr. Franklin frowns. The guests whisper among themselves. Sophie wants to refute, but James's words hit her fear. Ethan might turn away, as she once lost faith. But unexpectedly, Ethan holds her hand tight, his blue eyes brightening. She didn't deceive me, he states clearly. Sophie hired me, yes. But I'm here because I see her fighting for her dream. That's the truth. He looks at Sophie, his voice gentle. Isn't it, director? Sophie is stunned, her eyes stinging. Yes, she replies, her voice shaky. The crowd still murmurs, but some nod, seemingly convinced. James is angered, his voice sharp. You're naive, Brooks. She's just acting. I have a video proving she faked the exhibition. Tomorrow morning everyone will see. He smirks, sending chills down Sophie's spine. Maya pushes in, her voice crafty. A video, Mr. Carter? I've suspected you since yesterday's email. My team is investigating and you'll regret it if it's fake. She raises her phone, her eyes daring. James scoffs. Check all you want. But Sophie is done. Mr. Franklin turns to him. Carter, I want to see that video first. If you're lying, we have a problem. James seems confident, but his eyes flicker with worry. He turns away, leaving Sophie trembling. Sophie pulls Ethan to the balcony, 4th of July fireworks booming. Ethan, thank you, she says, her voice trembling, gripping his hand tightly. I feared you would doubt me. Ethan smiles, his eyes gentle. I was curious about you when you spilled coffee on the painting. I believe in you, Sophie. He pauses, jokingly. Even if you drag me into this drama. Sophie chuckles softly, her eyes bright. You're a disaster, she teases, squeezing his hand tighter, her heart warm. Maya rushes over, her face tense. Sophie, the board wants to meet immediately. James sent the video to them, calling it the final proof. We need to act. Sophie pales. What video? She asks, her voice shaking. Maya shakes her head. No idea yet, but he's confident. Are you ready? Ethan grips Sophie's hand, his gaze strong. Face it together, director? Sophie nods, but her mind is in turmoil. Will James's video destroy everything, or will Ethan's trust be her strength? Stay tuned for the next developments. Have you ever faced an unexpected challenge that threatened your dream? Share in the comments and subscribe to True Millionaire Moments to follow Sophie and Ethan's journey. Every moment you share ignites the stories that touch the heart. The small meeting room next to the Philadelphia Art Museum lobby was stuffy, even though the windows were open to the blazing July 4th fireworks in the sky. Sophie Langley, dressed in a tight-fitting dark blue evening gown, stood before the museum board, her brown eyes resolute, but her hands clenched tightly. Beside her stood Ethan Brooks, in a black Nordstrom suit, his blue eyes filled with worry but also determination. The board, led by Mrs. Eleanor, sat around a wooden table, their gazes stern. On the laptop, a video had just played. Sophie apparently looking at exhibit documents with the James Carter Museum logo, with his voiceover accusing her of stealing the freedom to paint concept. Just minutes ago, on the gala balcony, Maya had warned about this video, and now the board demanded Sophie explain herself. With wavering sponsors and her reputation on the line, Sophie knew this was her biggest battle. But Ethan's gaze, having stood up for her, gave her hope. Could they overturn James's nasty trick? Mrs. Eleanor broke the silence, her voice cold. Sophie, the video shows you reviewing Carter Museum documents. He claims you stole his new exhibition idea. Explain. Sophie took a deep breath, her heart racing. That video is fake, she stated firmly. I never entered James's office. Freedom to paint is my idea. Mr. Franklin, a major sponsor backing her, frowned. It looks pretty real, Sophie, he said. Without evidence to the contrary, I must reconsider my support. The board whispered, their gazes doubtful. Sophie paled, her hands trembling. I need time, she said, her voice shaking. Ethan stepped forward, his voice deep. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about the video, but Sophie is no liar. She lives for this museum. Mrs. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. Mr. Brooks, who are you to speak? A sidewalk artist? Ethan chuckled softly, his blue eyes bright. Yes, I just chalk. But I've seen Sophie work. If she stole the idea, why would she need me standing here in this stifling suit? A few members chuckled, easing the tension. Sophie looked at Ethan, warmth filling her, yet the video still hung like a sword over her head. Maya interjected, her voice cunning. Counsel, James has a history of deceit. I suspected as much from the email he sent yesterday, and my team is checking the video. Give us 24 hours. Mrs. Eleanor nodded, her tone stern. 24 hours, Sophie. If not, you know the consequences. Mr. Franklin added, I want to believe you, but the video is very convincing. Sophie nodded, her voice resolute. I will prove the truth. They left the meeting room and returned to the gala hall, jazz music and fireworks echoing. Sophie pulled Ethan into a secluded corner near the window. Ethan, I don't know how James faked this video, she said, her voice trembling. If I lose my position, the museum will fall into his hands. Ethan held her hand, his gaze gentle. You're not fighting alone, Director. I'm here, even if I'm only good at spilling chalk. Sophie chuckled softly, her eyes misty. You're a disaster, she replied, squeezing his hand. Meanwhile, outside the side exhibit near the museum, Tina, Ethan's 16-year-old sister, was peering from behind a large statue. The girl wore a t-shirt with the American flag, her hair in a ponytail, her eyes gleaming with curiosity. That morning, Tina had begged Ethan to let her attend the gala, saying she wanted to see her dashing brother and help arrange the chalk paintings for the outdoor side exhibit. But when security wouldn't let her into the main hall, she snuck through the employee entrance, determined to explore the gala. If Ethan's playing fake boyfriend, I have to see what Sister Sophie is like, Tina whispered, giggling. She dodged a guard, nearly dropped her phone, then hid behind the statue just in time to see James Carter talking to a strange man near the side hall. Holding her breath, Tina started recording. James's voice rang out, smug. The video will take her down. Just edit a few scenes and no one will know. The other man laughed. Clever, Carter. Langley is done for. Tina gasped, hands trembling, but her phone slipped from her grip, landing with a clack on the floor. James turned sharply. Who's there? He barked. Panicked, Tina retrieved her phone and darted through the emergency exit, nearly knocking over a trash bin. That was close, she panted, her heart pounding, but a sly grin formed on her lips. Sophie, I've got you covered. In the gala hall, Sophie's phone buzzed. A message from Tina. Sophie, I recorded James boasting about the fake video. Sending it now. Sophie froze, her heart racing. How did Tina hear that? She asked urgently. Ethan laughed teasingly. Tina begged to come with me, saying she wanted to see her gala brother. I let her help with the chalk paintings outside, so she must have snuck close to the hall to eavesdrop. That girl is always a detective. Sophie opened the message, and the recording played, featuring James. The video will take her down. Just edit a few scenes and no one will know. Sophie and Ethan looked at each other, eyes bright. This is our chance, Sophie said, determined. But we need stronger evidence. Maya rushed over, her voice urgent. I've contacted a video technician. He says he can find editing marks but needs a few hours. Sophie nodded. Get on it, Maya. We have to act fast. Ethan winked. You're the real boss, Director. What do I do? Sophie joked. Just don't spill wine on the sponsors, okay? Maya laughed loudly. Watch out, Ethan. I bet you can do that too. The group laughed, but their laughter faded when James appeared, a smug grin on his face. Sophie, enjoying the video? He asked, mocking. By tomorrow morning, Philadelphia will know you're a fraud. Ethan stepped forward, his voice deep. Mr. Carter, she will beat you, just like she made me wear this suit. James scoffed. You think you're a knight? She's using you, Brooks. Sophie squeezed Ethan's hand, her voice sharp. James, you're wrong. The truth will come out. James smirked, a hint of worry in his eyes. Go ahead and try, he said, turning away. The group returned to the hall, but Sophie felt the pressure weighing down. Mrs. Eleanor appeared, her voice stern. Sophie, Mr. Franklin wants to meet immediately. If the video is genuine, he'll withdraw his support. Sophie turned pale, looking to Ethan. Will you come with me? She asked softly. Ethan nodded, squeezing her hand. Always, Director. The 4th of July fireworks boomed, but would Tina's recording be enough to overturn the fake video? Or was James about to unleash his final blow? Stay tuned for the next developments. Have you ever uncovered a surprising secret that changed everything? We'd love to hear your stories in the comments. The Philadelphia Museum of Art Hall shone brightly with lights. Gentle jazz music intertwined with the booming fireworks of July 4th above the Delaware River. Sophie Langley, in a dark blue evening gown hugging her body tight, stood before Mr. Franklin, a major sponsor with determined brown eyes despite her rapid heartbeat. Beside her, Ethan Brooks, in a black Nordstrom suit, his eyes gleaming with confidence mixed with anxiety. Just moments ago, Mrs. Eleanor, the chairwoman, announced that Mr. Franklin wanted an immediate meeting, threatening to withdraw funding if the counterfeit video by James Carter, accusing Sophie of stealing ideas for the Freedom to Draw exhibition, was proven true. Tina's recording, Ethan's sister, revealed James boasting about the fake video, lighting up hope. But Maya still needed time for technicians to verify. Under the gala lights on the evening of July 4th, Sophie knew this was a last chance to save her reputation. Ethan squeezed her hand, his gaze conveying, "We can do it, Director." But would the truth shine through before James launched his final strike? Mr. Franklin, eyes sharp behind his glasses, spoke. "Sophie, that video is very convincing," he said in a deep voice. "I've sponsored this museum for years, but if you deceive us, I can't continue." Sophie took a deep breath, her voice steady. "Sir, the video is fake. I have evidence that James orchestrated it, but it'll take a few hours for verification." Mr. Franklin frowned. "A few hours? I need an answer now." The crowd around, from sponsors to elites, murmured. Sophie felt the pressure like a blade, but Ethan's warm hand kept her standing firm. She thought about the moment he stood up to James, acknowledging the $2,500 contract but still believing in her, warming her heart. Ethan chimed in, his voice deep. "Mr. Franklin, I'm not in the industry, but I've seen Sophie fight for this exhibition. She doesn't need to deceive anyone." Mr. Franklin raised an eyebrow. "You're a street artist, right? Why do you trust her so much?" Ethan smiled, his blue eyes shining. "Because she hired me for $2,500 to stand here. But she made me want to believe more than the money. Try wearing this suit. It's really uncomfortable." Some guests laughed and Mr. Franklin smirked, but remained serious. "Words aren't enough, Brooks. I need proof." Maya rushed over, her voice urgent. "Sophie, the technician found signs of editing. A corner of the video has the Carter Museum logo distorted, signs of staging." Sophie was stunned, her heart racing. "Can we prove it yet?" she asked. Maya shook her head. "It'll take a few hours for analysis, but Tina's recording matches James's words." Sophie nodded, her eyes resolute. "Tina overheard James bragging about the fake video. We'll prove the truth." Mr. Franklin nodded, his voice cautious. "By tomorrow morning, Sophie. If not, I'm pulling our sponsorship." They left Mr. Franklin, returning to the gala hall, with jazz and fireworks echoing. Sophie pulled Ethan out onto the balcony, the red, white, blue light illuminating her face. "Ethan, if the technician isn't on time, I'll lose everything," she said, her voice trembling, thinking about the museum she built from sleepless nights. Ethan squeezed her hand, joking. "Director, you made me wear this suit. I won't let you lose that easily. Tina sneaked to overhear James. Now let me do something." Sophie smiled softly, her eyes bright. "Don't spill wine on Mrs. Eleanor, okay? she teased. Ethan winked. Can't promise, but I have an idea. Ethan called Tina, hiding outside the auxiliary exhibition area. Tina, are you still near the museum? He asked. Tina exclaimed, her voice cunning. Yeah, behind the statue. Almost got caught by security, but I'm still nimble. Ethan shook his head, laughing. Good job, detective. Did you see where James went after the recording? Tina chirped. He entered the auxiliary office near the hall with that guy, carrying a laptop. I texted Sophie the office address. Ethan turned to Sophie, his eyes bright. James could have left evidence in the office. If we get it, you can turn things over. Sophie was stunned, her voice rushed. Museum office? There's security and James is cautious. Maya chimed in, her voice sly. I know a side path through the archive, but we need to distract the guard. Ethan winked. Leave it to me. I'm great at spilling things. Sophie rolled her eyes, smiling. You're such a disaster. Maya nodded. I'll lead Sophie in. Ethan keeps the guards busy. Tina, watch James and report immediately if he moves. Tina chirped over the phone. Roger that. Spy team here. The plan commenced. Ethan stepped into the hall, intentionally bumping into the banquet table, spilling several glasses of red wine onto the floor. Oh my, sorry, he called out, his voice alarmed, attracting the security's attention. Hey there, be careful, a guard shouted, running over. Ethan feigned clumsiness, leading them away from the side path. I just wanted some wine. Who knew I'd slip my hand? This suit is too hard to move in, he said, making a few guests laugh. A guard glared. How much have you drunk? Ethan raised his hands. Not a drop, but I bet you couldn't wear this suit comfortably either. The surrounding guests laughed loudly. The guards got caught up, forgetting the side path. Within the archive, Maya led Sophie past shelves of ancient sculptures, under dim light. Sophie whispered, heart racing. If caught, I'm really done. Maya winked. Don't worry. I once snuck in here for gala cake. Sophie glared but smiled. They entered the auxiliary office, spotting James's laptop on the desk. Sophie tried the password, recalling Tina's recording. James mentions 1234. The screen unlocked, revealing editing software, with footage slyly patched together showing Sophie clumsily. Got it, Sophie whispered, copying the file to a USB, hand trembling with nerves. The door swung open. James stood there, brown eyes furious. Sophie, how dare you break in? He shouted, rushing forward. Maya blocked him, her voice sly. Carter, you're done. We have the original video. Sophie held up the USB, her voice sharp. You've lost, James. He sneered, eyes panicked. You can't escape. I'll say you stole the USB. But Ethan appeared, his deep voice, standing with the guard he'd drawn with his wine-spilling act. What now, Carter? Staging again? He said, his gaze mocking. I heard you threatening Sophie, bragging about the fake video with that guy. Tina recorded everything. Want to explain to the guards? The guard frowned, looking at James. Mr. Carter, follow me. James froze, his voice gritty. Recording? You're making it up. Ethan winked. Making it up? My Hollywood films would pale compared to yours. But this USB will tell the truth. James blanched, turning away, but Maya called out. Running away, Carter? This USB goes to the council tomorrow morning. Sophie sighed with relief, looking at Ethan, her eyes bright. You're truly a disaster, Knight, she said, smiling. Ethan winked. You paid $2,500, so I have to do good. Mrs. Eleanor appeared, her voice serious. Sophie, Mr. Franklin is waiting for an answer. Are the video and USB sufficient? Sophie nodded, her eyes determined, but anxieties lingered. The fireworks of July 4th boomed, But is the USB the key to victory, or does James have another final move? Stay tuned for the next developments. Have you ever risked everything to defend the truth you believe in? Share in the comments and subscribe to True Millionaire Moments to follow Sophie and Ethan's journey. Each viewer like you is a flame, lighting the stories that touch hearts. Sophie Langley's luxurious apartment at Rittenhouse Square was bathed in the soft glow of table lamps, with floor-to-ceiling windows opening onto a balcony where the July 4th fireworks still sparkled in the distance over the Philadelphia sky. Late at night, the jazz from the museum gala was far off, but the atmosphere inside the apartment remained lively. Sophie, having swapped her evening gown for a white sweater, sat on the leather sofa, her brown eyes anxiously staring at the laptop. Ethan Brooks, in an unbuttoned flannel shirt, leaned against the wall, his blue eyes glinting with intrigue. Maya, a sharp-witted assistant, lay sprawled on the carpet, her phone incessantly pinging. Tina, Ethan's younger sister, sat cross-legged, her ponytail bouncing, her eyes bright as she recounted the incident of eavesdropping on James Carter. After the gala skirmish, the USB containing the original video and Tina's recording revealing James bragging about a fake video, the group had returned here, resolute in staying through the July 4th night to monitor a technician's analysis and search for clues to counter James's final blow. In the cozy apartment, Sophie felt the group like a family. But when Ethan looked at her, she wondered, would tonight bring them closer? Or would James destroy it all? On Skype, the museum's technician, Mr. Henry, reported in a deep voice. "The video shows clear signs of editing," he said. "The logo is distorted and the scenes are blatantly spliced, but it will take a few hours to verify. The audio recording from the young lady is very helpful." Sophie nodded, her voice tense. "Thank you, Mr. Henry. We need the report by tomorrow morning before the council meets." Mr. Franklin had given her until dawn to prove the video was fake. Otherwise, he would withdraw funding. Maya yawned, her voice whimsical. "Mr. Henry, please hurry. I want to sleep before the sun rises." Henry chuckled through the screen. "Ms. Maya, I'm trying," Tina cheered. "Uncle Henry, you're a superhero." The group laughed, easing the tension. Sophie got up, heading to the kitchen to make coffee. Ethan followed jokingly. "Director, if you make coffee without spilling, I'll be impressed." Sophie glared playfully, smiling. "Don't bring up the old city incident disaster," she said, recalling the spilled coffee that ruined a chalk drawing earlier. Ethan winked, taking the cup from her hand. "You owe me $2,500. I have to help." His touch made Sophie flustered, her heart racing. She diverted her gaze, thinking about the gala. Ethan had spilled wine as a diversion, leading them to rescue her from James. "Thank you, Ethan," she said softly. "Without you, I couldn't have gotten through tonight." Ethan smiled warmly, his blue eyes bright. "You made me wear a suit. I had to be your knight." Sophie laughed, her heart warm, but his gaze made her shiver. In the living room, Maya and Tina reviewed the audio. Tina recounted excitedly. "I almost died when the phone slipped. I thought James caught me, but I was quick like a ninja." Maya laughed aloud. "Tina, girl, you should be a detective. How are you so stealthy?" Tina winked. "When I was little, I snuck cookies from Ethan. Now eavesdropping on James is easy." Sophie and Ethan, bringing out the coffee, chuckled. Sophie sat beside Tina, her voice gentle. "Tina, you saved me tonight. Thank you." Tina blushed playfully. "Sophie, I wanted to see how you and Ethan pretend as a couple. Now that I've seen it, I like you even more." Sophie felt embarrassed, glancing at Ethan, who giggled, making her blush. Suddenly, the smell of grilled cheese wafted from the kitchen. The group turned to see Tina standing there, holding a tray of nachos with golden melted cheese alongside a plate of sandwiches. "I made a late-night snack," she exclaimed excitedly. While you were worrying about the video, I rummaged through Sophie's fridge and found delicious cheese. Maya was agog. Tina, little one, how do you know how to cook? Tina winked. I learned on TikTok, but I dropped cheese on the floor, sorry, Sophie. Sophie laughed, her eyes bright. No worries, you surprised me, Ethan interjected teasingly. Tina, did you save sandwiches for me? Or will you sneak off and eat like when you were little? Tina scowled, holding out a nacho. Eat this, and stop bad-mouthing me! The group burst into laughter, Maya playfully snatching at a sandwich. Tina, teach me to cook. I only know how to order pizza. Tina pushed the tray toward Maya. Ms. Maya, have nachos first and don't spill it like Ethan. Sophie smiled, watching the group joke around, feeling the cold apartment suddenly warm. This wasn't just a house, but a home. A place where she found family amidst the storm. But the jovial atmosphere dimmed when Maya stood, her voice serious. Detective team, we need to find more clues. James won't give up easily. Sophie nodded, opening the laptop, checking museum emails. He used to send fake documents, she said, her voice tense. If there are any more emails, we have to block them. Ethan sat next to her, joking. You remind me of when I drew with chalk. I had to erase mistakes before anyone saw. James is the biggest mistake. The group laughed, but Sophie remained worried. She thought about James, the one who thwarted her a year ago, and the pressure from Franklin. Tina was scrolling her phone and exclaimed, Sophie, James just posted on X. The truth about Langley revealed tomorrow. Sophie paled. Does he know about the USB? Maya shook her head. Not necessarily, but he's applying pressure. I'll message Henry to speed up. Sophie nodded, her mind in turmoil. She stepped onto the balcony, the fireworks still bursting. Ethan followed, his voice calm. Are you okay, Sophie? She turned to him, her voice trembling. Ethan, if I lose, the museum is everything I have. Ethan moved closer, his eyes gentle. You hired me as a fake boyfriend, but I'm really here. You won't lose. He paused, joking. Unless you want me to spill nachos on the laptop. Sophie laughed, her eyes misting, gripping his hand. No more disasters, okay? She said, feeling lighter. Maya received a message from Henry. Sophie, the video is 90% confirmed fake, but the distorted logo needs more checking. James might claim it's a technical error. Sophie nodded. We need James's email or messages to prove he staged it. Tina beamed. I have an idea. If we hack James's email, there might be something. Maya scolded playfully. Tina, detective, hacking is illegal. But I know the museum's IT. We can check the server legally. Sophie laughed, looking at the group. You guys really are a detective team, she said, her heart warm. But Maya's phone buzzed with news from the staff. James met a stranger at the gala and exchanged a hard drive. He's up to something. Sophie blanched, looking at Ethan. Would the USB and recording be enough to take down James? Or was the hard drive his trump card? Thank you for joining us tonight. Have you ever stayed up all night for a big goal? Share your story below and join us in following Sophie and Ethan's journey. Every story you share sheds light on true millionaire moments. Early in the morning of July 5th, the first sunlight spilled golden over the glass windows of the meeting room at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where the white columns still shimmered after last night's dazzling Independence Day gala. Sophie Langley, in a navy blue suit, stood before the museum board, her brown eyes resolute but her heart racing. Next to her, Ethan Brooks, in a simple flannel shirt, exuded a mix of confidence and worry through his blue eyes. Chairwoman Eleanor sat at the head of the table, her eyes stern. Mr. Franklin, a major donor, furrowed his brow, waiting for the final word on the fake video by James Carter, accusing Sophie of stealing the freedom to paint exhibition idea. The USB containing the original video, Tina's recording revealing James boasting about the fake video, and the technician's report were Sophie's weapons. But the message she received last night about James handing a hard drive to a stranger left her uneasy. In the meeting room's light, Sophie knew this was the decisive battle. As Ethan gently touched her hand, she wondered, would the truth prevail over James, or would his hard drive turn everything upside down? Eleanor began speaking, her voice cold. Sophie, Mr. Franklin has given you until this morning to prove James's video is fake. What do you have? Sophie took a deep breath and held up the USB. Council members, this USB contains the original video, proving that James manipulated it to tarnish my reputation. The technician's report confirms distorted logos and spliced scenes. We also have a recording of James admitting he staged it. She plugged in the USB, her eyes determined. The original video appeared, showing clumsy edits of Sophie with a warped Carter Museum logo. Tina's recording played and James's smug voice said, "The video will take her down. Just tweak a few scenes and no one will know." The council murmured. Mr. Franklin nodded, his eyes softening. "Very convincing, Sophie," he said. "But where is James? He must explain." The door swung open. James Carter walked in, looking dapper in a gray tuxedo, with a smug smile. "I'm here," he said smoothly. "And I have evidence to the contrary." He held up a hard drive, his piercing brown eyes locking onto Sophie. "This drive contains internal emails from Sophie, proving she took ideas from my museum. Her video is just a distraction," the council murmured. Chairwoman Eleanor frowned. "Mr. Carter, plug in the hard drive," she ordered. Sophie turned pale, her heart pounding. "He's lying," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "Calm down, Director. He's just putting on a show." James connected the hard drive and opened the email files. The screen displayed emails from Sophie Langley to her staff, requesting research on Carter Museum exhibition materials. The council buzzed and Mr. Franklin shook his head. "Sophie, what is this?" he asked, disappointed. Sophie was stunned, her voice urgent. "I didn't send that email. James fabricated it." But the board's skeptical stares made her feel suffocated. James sneered. "You can't deny it, Langley. Resign now." Ethan stood up, his voice calm. "Members of the council, if James can fake a video, why not an email?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "Do you have evidence, Brooks?" Ethan smiled, his blue eyes bright. "I just draw with chalk, but I bet Mr. Carter's better at making Hollywood movies than I am. Maya, do you have anything?" Maya, standing by the door, stepped in with a sly smile. "Council members, the museum's IT just reported. The email from Sophie was sent from an IP address belonging to Carter Museum's server, not ours." The council buzzed. James paled, his voice strained. "You're making it up. The system's faulty." Maya held up her phone, her eyes challenging. "This IP matches your office, Carter. Want to check it out?" Mr. Franklin turned to James, his voice stern. "Carter, explain this." James stumbled, his voice rising. "It's a technical error. Sophie's the liar." But Tina, standing outside the door, after begging to watch the drama, ran in excitedly. "Ms. Sophie, I saw James talking to that stranger outside the museum before the meeting this morning. I recorded him saying if the hard drive fails, release new rumors on X." The girl held up her phone, playing the recording with James's voice loud. "Langley thinks she won, but X will take her down." The council buzzed. Eleanor glared at James. "Mr. Carter, what's this recording about?" James stood frozen, his voice shaky. "She's lying. I didn't say that." Tina winked, her voice cheeky. "I also took photos of you with that guy. Want me to post it on X? Ethan laughed heartily. Tina, you're a real detective. James, you should learn from my ninja sister. The counsel chuckled. James looked frantic, his brown eyes furious. Eleanor stood, her voice stern. Sophie, your USB and recording are enough to prove the video is fake. Carter's hard drive and new recording will be examined by IT. The board will decide later. Mr. Franklin nodded, looking at Sophie. I trust you, Langley. But if Mr. Carter has other evidence, I want to see it. Sophie nodded, her voice firm. Thank you. The truth will prevail. James turned away, his eyes angry, whispering to the stranger outside the door. Sophie watched, worried. She thought about last night at Rittenhouse when everyone felt like family. Tina making nachos that transformed her apartment into a home. Thank you, Ethan, she whispered. Ethan winked. You paid me $2,500, of course I believe in you. Sophie laughed, feeling lighter. However, Maya received a message from a staff member. James just left the museum with a big bag, got into a car with the stranger. Where is he going? Sophie turned pale, looking at Ethan. What's he up to? She asked, her voice trembling. Ethan held her hand, his voice calm. You have a team of detectives, Director. We'll find out. Tina cheered. Ms. Sophie, let me watch X. If he posts anything, I'll catch it right away. Maya patted Sophie's back. You've got this, boss. Sophie smiled, her eyes bright, though she felt uneasy inside. The 4th of July fireworks had ended, but this battle was far from over. Will the USB be enough to take James down, or is the big bag he's carrying the final blow? Thank you for joining us this morning. Have you ever fought to protect what you believe in? Please share your story below and continue to follow Sophie and Ethan. Every light you shine is a motivation for true millionaire moments. On the morning of July 5th, the early sunlight streamed through the cobbled streets of Old City, Philadelphia, where the American flag still waved after the dazzling 4th of July gala. Sophie Langley, dressed in a blue sweater and jeans, stood in front of the Wawa Cafe near Liberty Bell, her sharp brown eyes scanning the crowd. Ethan Brooks, in his familiar flannel shirt, his sparkling blue eyes tinged with worry, stood beside her. Maya, their cunning assistant, checked her phone briskly. Tina, Ethan's younger sister, ponytail bouncing, held a glass of orange juice, her eyes bright with curiosity. Just minutes earlier, a museum employee had informed them that James Carter, after failing at the morning meeting, left the museum with a large bag, got into a car with a stranger, heading towards Old City. That morning, Sophie used a USB and Tina's recordings to prove Carter's fake video was deceptive. But his hard drive, containing fake emails, was still under IT scrutiny. Standing amidst Old City, Sophie wondered, what did the big bag contain? And could she intercept James's final move? Maya looked up, her voice urgent. The staff saw James enter that cafe, with the stranger and another person. Sophie nodded, her voice steady. We need to know what they're discussing. He plans to spread rumor X. She thought of last night at Rittenhouse, when the group felt like family, and Tina's nachos made the apartment feel like home. Ethan nudged her shoulder, joking. Director, don't worry too much. I'm afraid you'll spill coffee on me again. Sophie glared playfully, smiling faintly. Don't be a disaster, Ethan. Focus. Ethan winked. For $2,500, I must be a detective, Tina exclaimed, pointing her finger. There. James is at the outside table with a guy in a black suit and another woman. The group glanced over, spotting James in a gray coat, the large bag at his feet, sitting with the stranger and a woman. Short hair, glasses, journalist-like. Sophie whispered, she could be person X James intends to meet. We must eavesdrop. Maya nodded, mischievous. Here's AirPods and a small mic. Tina, can you stick the mic under the table? Tina beamed. As easy as sneaking a cookie from Ethan. Ethan scowled. Still reminding me about the cookies? Be careful, detective. Tina giggled, sneaking across the street, pretending to drop her orange juice near the table. Oh, sorry, she cried, bending down, sticking the small mic under the table. James glanced but suspected nothing, continuing his conversation. Tina ran back, flashing a victory sign. Done. Maya activated the AirPods, and James's voice came through. This bag contains internal museum documents proving Sophie stole ideas. You post X tonight to bring her down. The journalist laughed. The fake contract on the hard drive is brilliant too, Carter. I need these documents for an exclusive article. The stranger added, Rumor X will destroy Langley before the council meeting this afternoon. Sophie turned pale, her voice shaky. They plan to post X with fake documents. Ethan gripped her hand, his voice solemn. He hasn't posted yet, we can get the bag. Sophie nodded but worried. There are guards, and James is cautious. Ethan grinned, his eyes bright. Let me distract them. I'm good at spilling things, Maya teased. Careful, Ethan, don't wreck the whole cafe. Sophie glared, smiling. Don't create more disasters. Ethan winked, walking through the cafe, pretending to stumble, bumping into James's table, spilling a coffee cup onto the bag. Oh my, sorry, he exclaimed, his voice panicked. James shouted, Hey, be careful. He bent to pick up the bag, but Ethan pulled him away, pretending to be clumsy. I'll replace your latte. Which type do you like? The journalist and the stranger stood. Security rushed over. What's going on? Ethan raised his hand. Just slipped. It's difficult to walk in this flannel. Patrons laughed. James scowled, caught up in Ethan's act. Maya and Sophie quietly approached the table, grabbing the bag. Sophie opened it, stunned. Not only fake contracts with her name, but also Carter's internal museum documents. The Freedom to Draw plan, with Sophie's signature from 2 years ago, when she consulted for Carter. These are the real documents, Sophie whispered, her voice trembling. James stole my ideas, but trapped me as a plagiarist. Maya gaped. A Hollywood twist. He dug his own grave. Sophie snapped photos of the documents, her heart racing. The council must see this immediately. James turned, his brown eyes furious. Langley, he shouted, charging over. Maya blocked him, her voice sly. Carter, you're too late. These documents are going to the council. Sophie raised her phone, her voice sharp. You stole my ideas, James, and exposed yourself. He sneered, frantic. You can't prove it. Ethan appeared, his voice deep. Carter, isn't making Hollywood dramas exhausting? These documents are enough to get you expelled from Philadelphia. James grumbled. You can't escape Rumor X. But security approached. Mr. Carter, come with us to explain. James paled, being pulled away. The journalist and stranger disappeared. The group rushed back to the museum. Sophie messaged Mrs. Eleanor. Meeting now this afternoon. I have evidence to end James. On the afternoon of July 5th, the meeting room was packed. Sophie stood before the council, holding up the USB, captured documents, and IT report. Esteemed council, James faked the video and emails on the hard drive, but this bag contains real documents. He stole my ideas from 2 years ago, framing me as the plagiarist. She presented the document photos, Sophie's signature clearly visible. Tina's recording echoed, revealing James boasting about his smear plan. It confirmed. Fake emails from Carter's server, hard drive also forged. The council murmured. Mrs. Eleanor stood, her voice stern. Sophie, you've proven the truth. James Carter is prohibited from collaboration. His museum will be investigated. Mr. Franklin nodded, his gaze gentle. I believe in you, Langley. Sponsorship continues. Sophie exhaled, her eyes bright. James, standing outside the door, heard the verdict, his face pale, left with his reputation in tatters. But Maya received a message. The journalist's article X is still posting, claiming Sophie framed Carter. Sophie worried, her voice shaking. Will this rumor harm? Ethan held her hand, his voice grave. You've defeated James, Director. We can handle this rumor too. Tina chimed. Sophie, I've got X. Captured that article already. Maya patted her shoulder. Boss, you're undefeated. Sophie smiled, looking at the group, thinking about last night's home. The museum's sunlight faded. But will rumor X destroy Sophie before she can rebuild her reputation? Thank you for joining us today. Have you ever overcome a major challenge to protect the truth? Share your story below and join us in exploring Sophie and Ethan's new journey. Every light you ignite is inspiration for true millionaire moments. On the morning of July 15th, summer sunlight cast a golden hue through the white pillars of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, transforming the sidewalk in front of the Liberty Bell into a vibrant, 20-meter-long painting. Nearly 500 spectators gathered, taking photos to post on X, applauding as 8 street artists from Philly's mural arts, from young graffiti artists to seasoned masters of abstraction, painted brilliant chalk murals, a shimmering Liberty Bell, the winding Delaware River, the Philly community holding hands in the sunlight. Children cheered, holding chalk to color in dream homes. Volunteers handed out red, white, blue balloons, and the smell of hoagies from a nearby food truck mingled with the strains of street saxophone. Sophie Langley, in a white shirt and trousers, stood in the crowd, her sharp brown eyes filled with anxiety, interviewing an ex-reporter about the Freedom to Draw exhibit. Ethan Brooks, in an unbuttoned flannel shirt, kneeled on the sidewalk, leading the team of artists, swiftly drawing a large chalk mural. Sophie under the 4th of July fireworks, her smile radiant. Maya, the clever assistant, coordinated volunteers, her phone chiming. Tina, Ethan's sister with a bouncing ponytail, live-streamed the hashtag Freedom to Draw on X, her eyes bright with curiosity. This exhibit, the group's plan since July 6th, to dispel the X rumor that accused Sophie of framing Carter, aimed to prove the museum's transparency and convince Clara, the skeptical backup sponsor. Sophie watched Ethan draw, her heart warm, but wondered, can chalk lines erase rumors, or would Clara withdraw her funding? 10 days earlier at the Rittenhouse Square apartment, the group met late after unseating Carter. Sophie worried that journalist Lily's article on X was causing public doubt. Ethan stood up, his voice deep. Street art will connect the museum to the community, erase rumors. Sophie nodded, her eyes bright. Ethan, what a great idea. The exhibit will prove our transparency and inspire freedom. She appointed Ethan as head artist, selecting 8 artists from Philly's mural arts, a renowned public art program since 1984 that turned graffiti into a Philly symbol. Maya handled logistics, city permits, hoagie truck rentals, and recruiting 50 volunteers. Tina worked on PR for X, creating the hashtag Freedom to Draw. I'll make X explode, she cheered, making the group laugh. Sophie managed PR, X interviews, and meetings with Clara. From July 10-14, the group was bustling. Ethan met with artists in Old City to choose the theme, Freedom to Draw. Freedom in art and community. Sophie submitted the financial plan, but Clara remained skeptical. Maya set up the stage. Tina rallied children to draw with chalk. This exhibit is our passion, Sophie said, looking at Ethan, her heart racing. Today, the grand opening was vibrant, but Clara arrived with a sharp gaze. Sophie approached, her voice tense. Ms. Clara, the exhibit proves our transparency. I've sent the financial plan. What do you think? Clara frowned. Sophie, the exhibit is creative, but the X article accuses you of financial fraud. I need the truth, or I'll withdraw funding. Sophie took a deep breath. The X rumor is false. We're investigating. Ethan, brushing off chalk, interjected. Ms. Clara, I draw with chalk, but I see Sophie living for the museum. This exhibit is Philly. Clara smirked. Your drawings are beautiful, Brooks. I'll give you time. Tina, holding chalk, accidentally dropped some on Clara's shoes. Oh, sorry, she exclaimed, panicking. Clara glared, then laughed. Young lady, my shoes are expensive, Maya teased. Tina, the hoagie exhibit is starting. The audience laughed. Clara softened. Sophie nodded. Thank you, ma'am, she said, her eyes bright. But Maya rushed over, her voice urgent. Sophie, Lily posted a new X article accusing you of hiding finances. Clara just read it. Sophie turned pale. We must stop Lily. Maya nodded. I have her office address in South Philly. Tina held up her phone. Maya, I captured a message from Lily to a strange account, likely Carter's. Sophie nodded. Tina, send the screenshot. Maya, contact IT. Ethan, stay at the exhibit. Maya and I are going. In the afternoon of July 15th, Sophie and Maya arrived at Lily's office in South Philly, a small street lined with brick houses, vibrant graffiti, and saxophone music echoing from the corner. Sophie knocked on the door, her voice sharp. Lily, open up. We know you work for Carter. Lily, with short hair and glasses, opened the door, her eyes worried. What do you want? Sophie held up her phone. This email proves Carter hired you to spread X rumors. Lily sneered, holding up her phone. I'll live stream a video of Sophie meeting Carter. Sophie nodded, her voice firm. The council will sue you and Carter. Lily called out to her colleagues, her voice urgent. Get out here. Maya interjected, her voice sly. The email IP matches Carter's, Lily. Want to go to court? Lily turned pale, her voice trembling. Fine. I'll stop the live stream, no lawsuit. Sophie nodded. A public apology email, or you'll lose your career. The group quickly left. Lily's colleagues pursued, but a hoagie truck blocked the way, letting them escape. The group returned to the museum. Sophie exhaled in relief. Lily stopped. But will Clara trust me? Maya held up her phone. It confirmed. Carter hired Lily through an anonymous account, sent to the council. Sophie nodded but was worried. She walked over to Ethan, teaching Tina how to draw with chalk. Ethan, how's the exhibit? He smiled. Audience loves it, but I'm worried about you. Sophie shivered. I fear losing the museum. Ethan held her hand, his voice deep. My mom sold flowers, said art is truth. You are the truth, Sophie. She looked at him, her voice soft. Are you here truly, or for 2,500? Ethan squeezed her hand. For you, not for chalk or money. He drew Sophie under the 4th of July fireworks. She was moved, nearly kissed him. Tina cheered. Don't draw each other. Sophie blushed. The group laughed. But that evening, Tina rushed over, her voice urgent. Sophie, I saw Tom, the guard, crack an Egyptian statue in storage. Sophie turned pale. Tom? Working for Carter? Maya held up her phone. I'd reported Tom receiving emails from Carter, telling him to sabotage the exhibit. Sophie found fake contracts, sponsorship, her signature copied, in storage. Tom set this up for Clara. Nearby, Clara was furious. Sophie, the statue is damaged. The exhibit is failing. Tina held up her phone. I captured Tom planting the documents. Ethan glared. My painting is wet. Now the statue cracked? Sophie nodded. We confront Tom. Save the exhibit. Ethan clandestinely photographed Tom. Tina exposed him on X. The moonlight was dim, but Sophie's challenge to her reputation was far from over. Thank you for joining us today. Have you ever stood by a dream amidst doubt? Share below and join us in anticipating Sophie and Ethan's triumph. Every light you kindle is a driving force for true millionaire moments. Under the dim moonlight on the night of July 16th, the Philadelphia Museum of Art appeared like a silent fortress. Yet the pavement in front of the Liberty Bell was vibrant with colors from the Freedom to Draw exhibition. A 20-meter chalk artwork depicting the Liberty Bell, the Delaware River, and the Philly community shimmered under the streetlights, though one corner was smudged by water due to the sabotage of Tom, the insider security guard. In the archives, an ancient Egyptian statue, a treasure from an exhibition 2 years prior, lay tilted, a long crack angering Mrs. Clara, the auxiliary sponsor. Sophie Langley, her white shirt smeared with chalk, stood in the middle of the storage room, her brown eyes burning with determination, but her heart racing with fear. Ethan Brooks, clad in an unbuttoned flannel shirt, held her hand, his blue eyes determined. Maya, the cunning assistant, held up her phone, its screen casting light on a fake contract planted by Tom, Sophie's signature clumsily forged. Tina, Ethan's sister, her ponytail swaying, live-streamed on X, her voice urgently exposing Tom. Last night, the team discovered Tom, hired by Carter, sabotaging the chalk drawings and planting fake documents to defame Sophie. The exhibition, the result of 10 days of toil, now faced the risk of failure. Sophie looked at Ethan, remembering the night of July 4th under the fireworks, wondering, could she save the exhibition, or would the rumors on X and Clara wreck everything? This morning, Mrs. Clara, with silver hair and sharp eyes, marched into the storage room, her voice angry. Sophie, the statue's cracked, the drawings damaged. What is this fake contract? The exhibition's failed. I'm pulling my funding. Sophie took a deep breath, her voice steady. Mrs. Clara, this is Carter's plot. Tom, the security guard, sabotaged and planted the fake contract. We have proof. Clara raised an eyebrow. Where's the proof? Maya held up her phone. IT confirmed. Tom received emails from Carter instructing him to destroy the exhibition. Tina caught Tom planting documents. Tina exclaimed, live streaming on X. Everyone, Tom's working for Carter, destroying the exhibition. Freedom to draw. X viewers commented excitedly, hashtags exploding. Ethan joined in, his voice deep. Mrs. Clara, I drew with chalk, but I've seen Sophie live for this museum. This exhibition represents Philly. Clara's expression softened slightly, but she remained firm. Confront Tom immediately, Sophie. The group found Tom in the security office, standing next to a filing cabinet, his eyes worried. Sophie approached, her voice sharp. Tom, we know you're working for Carter. Why damage the statue and plant the fake contract? Tom sneered. You have no proof. Tina held up her phone. I caught you last night, Tom. X is buzzing because of you. Maya added. Here's Carter's email to you. Would you like everyone to see? Tom's face turned pale, his voice trembling. Carter paid me $5,000 to sabotage. He wants you to lose the museum. Sophie nodded, her voice firm. The board will deal with you. Leave now. Tom hung his head and left, escorted out by another guard. Clara, standing behind, nodded. Sophie, you handled that well. But with a cracked statue and damaged drawing, how can you save the exhibition? Sophie turned to Ethan, her voice trembling. Ethan, can you redraw the artwork? I need the exhibition to succeed. Ethan squeezed her hand, his eyes bright. You took down Carter. I'll draw all of Philly for you. But then he paused, his voice low. Clara wants control of the exhibition. I want freedom. What do you choose, Sophie? Sophie stood still, her heart aching. Ethan, I need Clara, but I trust you. She looked at the chalk drawing he had made, her under the fireworks, her heart warm. "Draw it. I'll handle Clara." Ethan nodded and called his team of artists. "Everyone, fix the drawing, add Philly's dreams." 8 artists, volunteers, and children gathered, chalk flying across the pavement. Ethan drew a new piece, Sophie and Philly under the moonlight, the audience clapping and taking photos to post on X. Maya rushed over, her voice urgent. "Sophie, Lily, a journalist on X, just posted a new live stream accusing you of framing Carter with a fake contract." Sophie's face turned pale. She won't stop. Tina held up her phone. "I saw Lily messaging Carter saying, 'Post the live stream, I'll pay extra.'" Sophie nodded. "Tina, send the screenshot." "Maya, email the board about Carter Lily's emails." Ethan chimed in, his voice mocking. "Lily's Hollywood for sure, but you'll take her down, director." Sophie smiled, her eyes bright but concerned. She called Clara, her voice firm. "Mrs. Clara, Lily works with Carter, and the live stream is fake. I'm sending proof. Do you believe me?" Clara, standing by the chalk artwork, watched the cheering crowd. "Sophie, this exhibition means Philly. Send the proof and I'll consider." The group convened on the sidewalk as Ethan finished the new chalk artwork, around 500 people clapping. Sophie stood beside him, her eyes wet. "Ethan, thank you. But if Clara withdraws funding, I'll lose the museum." Ethan held her hand, his voice deep. "My mom sold flowers saying art is truth. You are the truth, Sophie. I'm here for you, not the $2,500. Sophie was taken aback, her voice shaking. "I'm afraid you'll leave Philly, Ethan." He smiled, his blue eyes gentle. "I'm not going anywhere unless you kick me out." She felt moved, almost kissed him. But then Tina dashed over, her voice cheering. "Stop painting each other. The hoagie exhibition is here." The young girl carried a tray of hoagies from a cart, dropping some cheese on Maya. Maya glared playfully. "Tina, this exhibition disaster is you." The crowd laughed loudly. Sophie chuckled, her spirit lifted. But Maya raised her phone, her voice urgent. "Sophie, the board just messaged. Tom confessed more. Carter hired another insider in the museum, sabotaging the exhibition." Sophie's face turned pale. "Another insider?" Tina exclaimed. "I saw a strange warehouse staff near the Egyptian statue." Ethan glared. "Sabotage again? I just finished the drawing." Sophie nodded, her eyes determined. "We'll expose the insider and save the exhibition." She looked at Ethan, thinking of home on July 4th. Clara stepped up, her voice stern. "Sophie, deal with the insider, or I withdraw the funding." The moonlight shone on the chalk artwork, but the challenge to Sophie's reputation was far from over. Thank you for joining us today. Have you ever fought to save a dream at the crossroads? Share your story below and join us in waiting for Sophie and Ethan to triumph. Every light you ignite is a motivation for true millionaire moments. On July 17th, the afternoon sun gradually faded on the sidewalks of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where the free drawing exhibition entered its glorious final day. A 20-meter-long chalk drawing, a shimmering Liberty Bell, the winding Delaware River, the Philly community under the moonlight, attracted nearly 600 spectators, cheering and posting photos on X with the hashtag #HereFreeDrawing. Volunteers handed out red, white, blue balloons, children chalked their dream houses, and the smell of hoagies from food trucks mingled with the saxophone sounds echoing from the corner near the Liberty Bell. Sophie Langley, in a white shirt stained with chalk, stood among the crowd, her brown eyes steadfast, but her heart pounding with pressure. Ethan Brooks, wearing an open-buttoned flannel, led the mural arts artists team to complete the new chalk drawing. Sophie, and a radiant Philly. Maya, the sly assistant, checked the guest list, her phone pinging. Tina, Ethan's sister with a bouncing ponytail, live-streamed on X, her voice cheering. Last night, the group exposed Tom, an insider guard hired by Carter, for vandalizing the Egyptian statue and planting a fake contract, but he admitted there was a second insider at the museum. Mrs. Clara, the additional sponsor, was furious about the cracked statue, threatening to withdraw sponsorship. Sophie looked at Ethan, recalling the chalk drawing he made of her under fireworks, wondering, could she save the exhibition and her reputation, or would the second insider ruin everything? Sophie gathered the group in the archive room, the dim light casting shadows on the long, cracked Egyptian statue. "We need to find the second insider before Clara withdraws sponsorship," she said, her voice tense. Maya raised her phone. IT reports. Carter emailed warehouse staff named Rachel, telling her to plant another fake document tonight. Tina exclaims. "Sophie, I saw Rachel sneaking near the statue this morning." Ethan glared, his voice low. "Vandalism again? My drawing just finished." Sophie nodded, her gaze sharp. Tina, capture Rachel's actions. Maya, check the warehouse. Ethan, stay at the exhibition. Maya and I will find Rachel. The dark archive room, shelves filled with dusty files and ancient statues. Maya discovered new fake documents, financial reports of the museum with Sophie's forged signature, accusing her of embezzlement. "Rachel planted this for Clara," Maya whispered. Sophie turned pale, her voice trembling. "If Clara sees this, I lose everything." Maya nodded. "It has warehouse cameras, recording Rachel planting the document." The group found Rachel, the warehouse staff, sneaking out of the warehouse. Sophie blocked her, her voice sharp. "Rachel, you're working for Carter, planting fake reports." Rachel sneered. "You have no evidence." Tina, from the warehouse corner, held up her phone, live streaming on X. "Everyone, Rachel is sabotaging the Sikh free drawing exhibition." Maya held up the warehouse camera footage. "Rachel, here's the video of you setting the documents. Want the board to see?" Rachel turned pale, her voice shaky. "Carter paid me $3,000. He wants you to lose the museum." Sophie nodded. "The board will handle you. Get out." Security led Rachel away. Ex-audience eagerly commented. The group rushed out to the sidewalk. Mrs. Clara stood by the chalk drawing, her gaze angry. "Sophie, I just received an email from Lily, a journalist on X, live stream accusing you of embezzlement. Insider, cracked statue, I'm withdrawing sponsorship." Sophie took a deep breath, raising her phone. "Mrs. Clara, Lily works for Carter. The live stream is fake. Rachel, the insider, planted this report, but we have video." Maya showed warehouse footage. Clara frowned, watching Tina's live stream on X exposing Rachel. Ethan interjected, his voice deep. "Mrs. Clara, Sophie took down 2 insiders, saving the exhibition. Philly stands with her." Clara looked at the chalk drawing, Sophie under the moonlight. Her gaze softened. "Sophie, you have the evidence. I'll reconsider, but the exhibition must be perfect tonight." Sophie turned to Ethan, her voice trembling. "Ethan, how's the new drawing? We need to save the exhibition." Ethan squeezed her hand, his gaze bright. "Audiences love it, but Clara wants control. I want freedom, Sophie. What do you choose?" Sophie was stunned, her heart aching. "Ethan, I need Clara, but I trust you. Draw as you wish, I'll handle Clara." Ethan nodded, calling the team of artists. "Everyone add Philly's dreams." 8 artists, 50 volunteers, kids gathered, chalk dust flew on the sidewalk. Ethan drew the new piece. Philly holding hands, kids laughing, an audience of 600 cheering, snapping X photos. Tina live streamed, her voice cheering. Hashtag, here's free drawing 1, Maya teased. "Tina, don't drop the chalk on Clara again." Tina frowned, grabbed a hoagie from the truck, dropping cheese on Maya. Ms. Maya, you're the hoagie exhibition. The audience laughed. Sophie chuckled. But the drama wasn't over. Maya picked up her phone, her voice urgent. Sophie, the board texted, Lily posted a new live stream accusing you of hiring insiders to sabotage Carter. Sophie turned pale. She doesn't stop. Tina held her phone. I captured Lily messaging Carter. Final live stream, pay more. Sophie nodded. Tina, send it to the board. Maya, message Mrs. Eleanor about the Carter-Lily emails. She called Clara, her voice firm. Mrs. Clara, Lily works for Carter. The live stream is fake. I've sent the video of Rachel and Lily's emails. Do you believe me? Clara looked at the email, her gaze softening. Sophie, you've proven the truth. Sponsorship continues. The exhibition is wonderful. The audience applauded. The chalk drawing completed. X exploded with the hashtag #FreeDrawing. That evening, the group gathered under the streetlights. Sophie looked at Ethan, her voice small. Ethan, thank you. I feared losing you if the exhibition failed. Ethan held her hand, his voice deep. Sophie, I'm not going anywhere. But do you choose reputation or me? She trembled, her eyes stinging. You, but I'm afraid I'm not good enough. He smiled, drew a small heart with chalk around her name. You are Philly, Sophie. She was moved, almost kissed him. Maya teased. Artist couple don't draw each other, Tina exclaimed, dropping a hoagie. Disaster exhibition here. Sophie laughed, thinking about home on the night of July 4th. But Mrs. Eleanor, the board's president, approached, her voice stern. Sophie, the exhibition succeeded, but New York wants you to open a museum branch. Are you ready to leave Philly? Sophie was stunned, looking at Ethan, her heart confused. The exhibition ended, but a new challenge began. Thank you for joining us today. Have you ever been torn between a dream and love? Share below and join us as we see Sophie and Ethan face the future. Every light you shine is a motivation for true millionaire moments. On the afternoon of July 31st, the summer sun was fading over Rittenhouse Square, Philadelphia, where red brick buildings glistened and the sound of street saxophones blended with the aroma of coffee from La Colombe Cafe. Sophie Langley, in a form-fitting light blue dress, stood on the balcony of her apartment, her deep brown eyes gazing down at the park, her heart in turmoil. 2 weeks ago, the Freedom of Drawing exhibition won, dispelling rumor X, convincing Mrs. Clara, and closing the Carter drama. But Mrs. Eleanor's proposal, the council president, still haunted her. To open a museum branch in New York, requiring Sophie to relocate in a month. Below, Ethan Brooks, in an unbuttoned flannel shirt, was preparing to open his first gallery in Old City, a dream nurtured since the slums where his mother sold flowers. Maya, the sly assistant, was tying red, white, blue balloons for tonight's celebration. Tina, Ethan's sister, with a swinging ponytail, was live streaming on X, cheering about the Treasure Brooks Art Gallery. Sophie clasped her hands, thinking about Ethan's chalk drawing of her under the moonlight, wondering, would she dare choose love over New York? Or would their careers' dreams tear them apart? This morning at the apartment, Sophie held a final team meeting. Maya, sitting on the leather sofa, a cunning voice. Boss, New York is a big opportunity. But what about Ethan? Are you planning to abandon the disaster night? Tina, munching on a hoagie, chimed in. Sophie, Ethan's been smitten with you since the night of July 4th. Don't go to New York, stay with us. Sophie smiled, eyes watery, her voice trembling. I fear losing the museum if I stay, and losing Ethan if I go. Mrs. Clara, her silver hair sitting next to her, a gentle gaze. Sophie, you saved the exhibition. I trust you to choose wisely. Sophie nodded, her heart warmed, thinking about home on the night of July 4th. When Tina made nachos, Maya teased, and Ethan held her hand. But her phone buzzed. Mrs. Eleanor texted, "Sophie, New York awaits your response tonight." At dusk, the group reached Old City, where Ethan's gallery stood on the cobblestone street, opposite the familiar Wawa. The Brooks Art Studio sign glittered. Inside were chalk and canvas paintings. Liberty Bell, the Delaware River, Sophie under fireworks. Nearly 200 guests, exhibition viewers, mural arts artists, volunteers, gathered, applauding as Ethan cut the ribbon for the opening. Sophie stood beside, her eyes bright, but her heart heavy. Ethan, with a deep voice, spoke to the crowd. "This gallery is my mother's dream, and thanks to Sophie, it became real." The crowd cheered. Tina live-streamed. Maya tied balloons, accidentally dropping one on Mrs. Clara. "Careful, young lady." Clara glared, smiling. Maya teased. "Tina, the hoagie party is starting." Tina winked, dropping cheese on Maya. "Miss Maya, you're the disaster." The crowd burst into laughter. Sophie giggled, feeling a sense of family enveloping her. But when Ethan pulled her to a corner of the room, his worried blue eyes, her heart tightened. "Sophie, New York is your dream, but I don't want to lose you. I'm here for you, not for the $2,500. She trembled, her voice small. "Ethan, I'm afraid of choosing New York and losing you, or staying and losing the museum." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Do you choose fame or me?" Sophie froze, her eyes moist. "You, but I'm afraid I'm not good enough." He smiled, leading her to the sidewalk, where the artist team was drawing a new chalk picture. Sophie and Ethan under fireworks, a red chalk heart. "You are Philly, Sophie," he whispered. She moved, almost kissing him, but Tina ran up, shouting, "No more drawing each other. The party's starting." Sophie blushed. The whole group laughed. The celebration occurred in the gallery, the soft yellow lights, the sound of saxophones from the street filling in. Maya, holding a glass of wine, stood next to Sophie. "Boss, I learned from you. Fight for dreams. You choose Ethan, I'll handle the museum." Sophie hugged Maya, her voice choked. "You're my family." Tina jumped in, her mischievous voice. "Sophie, I want to intern at the museum, but you must stay with Ethan." Sophie laughed, patting Tina's head. "You're my little detective." Mrs. Clara approached with a gentle gaze. "Sophie, your exhibition is a labor of love. I'll increase the funding, but what do you choose?" Sophie nodded, her heart warm, yet she hadn't answered. Mrs. Eleanor arrived, her voice stern. "Sophie, New York awaits. Have you decided?" Sophie looked at Ethan, who was drawing tiny chalk sketches, a heart around their names. Her heart shone. She stepped onto the podium, holding a microphone, her voice firm. "Thank you, everyone. The Freedom of Drawing exhibition is our dream. But I'm choosing to stay in Philly, lead the museum, and collaborate with Ethan's gallery." The crowd applauded. Tina cheered. Her live stream on X exploded. Eleanor raised her eyebrows but smiled. "Sophie, I'll open the New York branch online. You can manage it from Philly." Sophie stood still, her eyes teary, hugging Eleanor. "Thank you." Ethan took Sophie to the sidewalk, the moonlight shining on the chalk drawing. "Sophie, I love you, since the night of July 4th, he said in a deep voice. "You're staying. I can't promise wealth, but I promise to be by your side." Sophie smiled, her eyes wet. "I love you, Ethan, not for the chalk, but for you." They kissed under the moonlight, fireworks from a nearby festival exploding in the sky, the audience cheering, Tina live streaming. Maya teased. "The artist couple, here's the disaster party." Tina dropped her hoagie, the cheese sticking to Clara. "Young lady." Clara glared, smiling. Sophie and Ethan laughed heartily, feeling the eternal sense of home. The party went on, the group gathering around the large chalk drawing. Philly, Sophie, Ethan, Maya, Tina, under the fireworks. Sophie looked at Ethan, thinking of the future. The museum collaborating with the gallery, Maya leading projects, Tina interning, Clara funding, Eleanor advising. X exploded with hashtags. Brooks art, freedom of drawing, the audience sharing their dreams. Sophie held Ethan's hand, her heart overflowing. From a spilled coffee on July 4th, she found love, family, and forever Philly. From a spilled coffee to a kiss under fireworks, Sophie and Ethan taught us that love, dreams, and family can bloom in the unlikeliest moments. Their journey reminds us, every choice we make, every heart we trust, paints a new stroke on the canvas of our lives. Have you found your home in love or a dream? Share your story below, and let's keep inspiring each other with tales of courage and connection. Your light fuels the heart of true millionaire moments.